Sorry?
Eating clean
Eating properly, yeah.
is such a big part of being fit. Is just, I mean, then you're not putting junk into, you don't need to work the junk out. And eating clean can go such a long way in.
Yeah. So what in your opinion is eating clean? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Basically, don't overdo oil, don't overdo carb, don't overdo alcohol, all of which I've done. That's a separate story.
Now, as a runner, I can tell you that sometimes I go for a run with a group of people, and as we run, we talk, and as we talk, we discuss issues. We discuss, for example, someone just starts saying that मेरे office में ये सा हुआ था, and as they talk, the issue becomes more clear, and people start suggesting, why don't you try this? So solutions seems to, sort of work out even as we run. There's a knowledge exchange that happens.
A very famous philosopher once said, divide your 24 hours into 8 plus 8 plus 8, where you work for 8 hours, you sleep for 8 hours, and the remaining 8 hours you divide into 3S, 3Fs, and 3H.
The physical health issues there are plenty of solutions now which are available. Mental health is still not got the attention it deserves. Of course, it is getting more.
If you discover it early, that employee can lead a good, happy life over a protracted period of time by something like breast cancer. If it is diagnosed early enough, how much of a difference it makes.
But to me, the key thing is it's all elective, right? The kind of activity, there's a health checkup, but no one's telling me how to get healthy.
Yes.
So, and that's the point I'm making, that, everybody has their own journey, including the diet, because next you'll be telling people what to eat and what not to eat, right?
Welcome, guys. So this is about fitness, and fitness in my understanding has basically 3 dimensions. One is physical fitness, bodily fitness. The second and slightly more important is mental fitness, and even more important than the spiritual fitness, an individual's inner self. So I'm sure that all of these are relevant for the industry, and you people can actually live it out. So I want you guys to share with me the kind of experiences and insights you have on this topic. Shall we begin with you, sir?
Thank you so very much. I have been into sports all my life. So it initially started off with table tennis, and I was a pretty serious TT player. I have played All India Open Invitation, played at the university level, played at the college level, captained the school, college teams, institute teams, etc. And then I played A Division League while at XLRI Jamshedpur for 2 years. And I was not a cricketer before. And then I developed a passion for tennis, and so tennis continued. So table tennis was about 10 years, and tennis was about 15 years until I discovered golf. So now I am a very active golfer, and golf is a perfect blend of physical, mental, I would add emotional and spiritual kind of fitness for me personally. Great blend in terms of the real slice of life that we lead in terms of our corporates. How do you face adversity? How do you play as a member of a team? How do you lead a team? How do you get the best out of your partner? How do you overcome adversity? How do you capitalize on someone's mistake and then do better than him if it's a tournament, etc. But apart from this, though not really fitness, I'm a wildlife enthusiast. So I do a lot of wildlife photography. I published 2 books on wildlife photography. And believe me or not, if you're on a safari for 5 days, it is extremely strenuous. The heat or the cold, the jumping in a safari jeep when you're chasing a tiger or a leopard. I mean, I'd just been to Kenya. I'm going again in the month of February. I'm trying to shoot the lions or the wildlife in a lake where you are embedded at the ground level and your cameras are all camouflaged and you're trying to shoot them, and there is some lighting which will enable you to shoot their reflection in the water. Or we'll take a helicopter and we will fly above the flamingos, and we will be shooting them with with a lake which has a multicolored lake with a lot of salts underneath. So this is also very, very exciting. Other thing that I do is I do functional fitness, which is about 3 days a week. Golf is about 3 days a week, probably four. And I also do a lot of meditation. I am into Isha Yoga and I follow Shambhavi Mahamudra. And so that gives me a lot of comfort. So it's a combination of some of these things.
So I think one very practical thing that you can tell us about is how do you juggle your time? How do you allocate time for fitness activities? Now you said that you also do meditation and your work because you're at the level of a CEO, so you have a lot of responsibility. You must be getting calls around the clock. You must be getting emails. So how do you manage this?
See, it's like this. For me, the day starts very early. It starts at about 5 o'clock in the morning. I need about 21 minutes for the Shambhavi Mahamudra. And then if I were to get ready and, after that and go to the golf course, I am ready to tee off at 6 o'clock in the morning. I play 9 holes. I am done by 8 o'clock. I have breakfast, I have a shower, and if I have a meeting at 9 o'clock, I can be there for a meeting at 9 o'clock. Functional fitness happens thrice a week, usually after work timings. So I have my physical trainer, and if the time is 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m., I can go there either before or after. I go on Mondays when the golf course is closed in the morning. The other days I can go in the evenings. Photography is something, that's become as important as golf in my life. And so I have to find time for it. I have to find 4 or 5 days to get off into the jungles. It started off with Kenya and Tanzania. I've published 2 books on wildlife photography in Kenya and Tanzania. And now I'm discovering Indian jungles. So I would have done about 20 safaris in the last 15 months. And I'm loving it. So,
What is functional fitness? I'm sorry for asking.
functional fitness is where you use the weight of your own body. You have some weights, but you're not doing weight training. You're not, going there and pumping iron. But you're exercising every muscle, tissue, ligament, you're improving flexibility, you're increasing strength, you're increasing stamina. So it's a fairly holistic approach to your fitness. And then since I am a golfer, they add some elements for golf, particularly the golfing muscles, which are the ones that come into play, etc. So I find it extremely useful and relevant. Unfortunately, I have a 12 pack. I don't have a 6 pack, but that's because of all these activities.
So very interesting. You are personally able to do it, but the larger question is it a matter of just a personal preference, or do you think it's a must for people in the industry? Like for example, for him, it was from a very young age, and it was his choice to do it, and so he has sort of kept it alive. But what do you think about people in general? Would you advocate that people, who enter the industry from a young age should actually practice fitness consciously, or what do you think? Or it's just a matter of choice. If they want, they can do it. It doesn't matter if they don't do it. What would you say, sir?
So I think the short answer is you must lead a balanced life. And then you must focus on fitness, physical, emotional, spiritual. You must eat right, you must work whatever hours that you have to do, etc. You must focus on family and friends because all of these really constitute a whole life. My reality is I was never able to do that. I think so. Like him, I played all kinds of sport till I was in college, till I was in Excel. Yeah, so I used to play volleyball, football, basketball, all kinds of stuff in school, college, school level, national, state level, etc. But when I started working, I found that I just didn't have both either the facility or the time to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Since I grew up in Jamshedpur, I had access to clubs. And you can play tennis, you can play all kinds of stuff, swimming pools, everything was there. When I moved to Bombay, I had no access to clubs, and therefore a lot of the facilities fell away. But more importantly, I found that in the initial years of my professional life, I was very focused on achieving professional success. And that meant working longer hours because I don't think I was more blessed than anybody else who was my peer. And therefore, if you want to be leading ahead of the curve, you have to put in more effort, which meant longer hours. And whatever after that, because I came from outside the city, I needed to spend time networking. So you would go out with friends, you would meet people, you would attend conferences. And in the first 10, 15 years of my life, I don't think I did anything in a kind of structured way around fitness. I mean, there have been years when you did yoga, you did running, you did functional training, you did weight training and all of that. And I've kind of experimented with all kinds of things. And the thought that I wanted to leave, and in fact, I drew a diagram because I thought I wouldn't remember how to articulate that. So if you have effort on the y-axis and time or age on the x-axis, I think the number of hours that you work more or less stays a constant. It might be 9, 10, 11 hours in the beginning, but as you get more senior, it comes down to 8, 9 hours. You have networking, which I think, especially for somebody like me, I invested a lot of time in networking when I was younger. Today, I can afford to do less. Also, because I'm at the fag end of my career, networking is not the most important thing you want to do. You will spend time with friends and family, and networking is only when Deepak twists your arm and makes sure that you land up here. And I found that investment in myself, whether it's in fitness, whether it's in friends and family, whether it's in anything that's really giving back to yourself, has increased as I've become more senior and have greater control on my time. When you're younger and junior, you have very little control on your time. You're at the beck and call of every person that you report to and work with. And as you get senior, you get a little more control. And what I've found is that in life, for me, I don't think I've been able to manage everything all together at on the same day or in the same week or in the same month. But keeping the key markers in your life, the big rocks and that famous meme that goes around as to you put the water, the rocks, then the pebbles, the sand, and the water meme that everybody knows. So as long as you keep the big rock, that you don't want to. I mean, I have floated from being 29-inch waist to 34-inch waist and back. And I hit a 34-inch waist when I was setting up IDFC Bank, and we were working 14 hours a day. And almost every second day, because you were working such long hours, you went out for a drink with all the people who were going out. So you kind of, when you stopped doing, you got it back. And so that's been my general approach. I'm focused on, I mean, I think it's being fit physically, emotionally, and it enables you to work better. It gives you it creates this level of centering within yourself, which enables you to relate to people better, be more patient, step away and make choices and decisions and things like that. But unlike him, I've never been able to manage it in a very kind of organized way.
Well, I guess that's a matter of personal ability, how you are able to do that. It's interesting to see that.
I pay a price. I sleep about 5.5 hours, which people tell me is not so good.
it isn't good for sure. With all the research will tell you that.
All right, but people also say that if you have got conditioned to it over a period of time, and if it is a lifestyle that you have adopted, and you have other ways of relaxation, then that's what it is.
But a very famous philosopher once said, divide your 24 hours into 8 plus 8 plus 8, where you work for 8 hours, you sleep for 8 hours, and the remaining 8 hours you divide into 3S, 3Fs, and 3H. Now I'll tell you what they are. The 3H is health and hygiene. There's one more. The 3Fs are friends, family, and faith. And 3S is smile, soul searching, and maybe something. So, if you do that, you could actually manage your life very well. So, that's 8 plus 8 plus 8 rule that works beautifully into managing whatever you want to manage. Rest could be all excuses around it, but this has always worked very well.
I completely agree, and that's the headspace I'm in today. That I want to work for 8 hours, I want to have sleep for 8 hours, and do whatever I want to do for the rest 8 hours.
So ultimately, fitness boils down to keeping this balance, balancing out your time and energy among these three dimensions, broadly speaking, right? Ultimately, fitness is not just about physical fitness. It's about how you can balance and juggle between these three in an efficient manner.
I agree. I think it's about managing your energy in a way that you're able to sustain your day consistently over years.
And don't you think it's becoming all the more relevant now as the world is going forward? Because increasingly we hear about people getting stressed out, more and more cases of depression and so on. What do you say about that?
So yeah, I was actually going to come to that point. I deal with a lot of startup founders and they're young CEOs and not so young, but so physical fitness has got the attention it deserves in a sense. No one will today say that I should not be physically fit. And whether it's marathon or others, it's splashed all over. But the one thing which has not got as much attention as yet, but is getting is mental fitness, mental health. And that can, destroy everything. What we are seeing increasingly is, particularly younger crowd has, for whatever reason, and so not so young as well, this kind of pressures which keep building in their mind. And there's no outlet for it unless you manage your mental health. So, in the startup world, we are seeing so many people wanting to address this problem. The physical health issues there are plenty of solutions now which are available. Mental health is still not got the attention it deserves. Of course, it is getting more. And that's something, there are two parts to it. Firstly, recognition that it's a problem, and secondly, addressing it. The recognition stage itself is still nascent, and that requires far greater attention. Then physical fitness has got recognition and attention. Recognition certainly, attention may or may not be as much, but for mental health, recognition itself is an issue.
But today we hear about a lot of people saying the connection between physical health and mental health is actually very strong. Although it may not be visible outside, but then people who actually engage in regular physical activity are also mentally stronger and more peaceful. They're able to, for example, somebody who runs a marathon is able to clear his mind of a lot of stress which might have built up over time. And that helps him to perform better eventually. So physical fitness or engaging in physical activity itself feeds into mental well-being.
Of course, there is a correlation, but for a person who may not be as physically active, in any case, mental health is an important thing. Yeah.
So do companies, consciously make, for example, in the Tata Group, we know that Chandra is a runner, marathon runner, and the Tata Group has actually sponsored many of the marathons worldwide. For example, the Mumbai Marathon is called the Tata Mumbai Marathon. Right. Amsterdam is TCS Amsterdam Marathon. The New York Marathon is called the TCS New York Marathon. So the Tata Group has been a very active promoter of fitness activities. Is there a effort in the organization to make people formally aware of their fitness and engage them in fitness activities?
So I think, as you know, the group has multiple companies and different companies follow their own process. So I do know of a few companies in the group who have clusters of employees who run together, or they have devices which they wear where if the entire group burns a certain number of calories, then certain reward points are given and so on. There are certain companies who engaged with fitness trainers or running trainers. But I think for us as a group, really, as you said, our chairman is an inspiration. And especially many, many younger people for them. I was part of a town hall a few months ago, and you should see the buzz around our chairman and his fitness journey, and he spoke about it. And I think that itself, if you're able to inspire people, instead of making it formal or instead of making it structured, if your leadership is actively involved in sport, in fitness, in running, I think that is very important.
So you are saying instead of making it a formal activity.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that, A, by personal example, there can be a lot of inspiration.
Right.
There are companies in the group that have formal programs also, right? So there are both, I think, that go hand in hand, yeah.
In Jamshedpur, Tata Steel has something called the Tata Steel Adventure Foundation, and they have active participation of the employees as well in those activities, and the group supports, they promote, they get people who are active sportsmen and they support them and promote them. So this is another thing.
I have been on one of those treks.
You've been on the treks
One
with
of
them.
the TSAF.
TSF, yeah. So you know about it. Yeah, yeah. You know Hemant Gupta, who's the head of.
I went with earlier, Bachendri ji was the.
Yeah, she was the head earlier. Yeah, yeah. In XLRI, at least we have a couple of XL alums here. So in XLRI, there's now a informal discussion about formally getting students involved in fitness activities. See, fitness anyway happens by itself. Students have sports activities and so on, but it's still not a part of their requirement. The MBA curriculum, for example, doesn't have fitness as a mandatory requirement to complete the program. So, but then now there is a talk that we should include that, because students everywhere, not only in XLRI but everywhere, students have these stress-related challenges. There's a lot of academic pressure, there's placement-related pressure. So we see fitness as a solution to these things, and so I would like to know your thoughts also about this. Do you think that schools like us should introduce this into the curriculum, fitness into the curriculum?
My son went to Stanford, and of course, he had learnt golf even before going there. But while doing computer science, he did a course on golf, and he did what he loved to do, and he got credits for it. So I'm just trying to say that how do you meaningfully create a credit system for active engagement in sports? You see, it's like this. I mean, if you have been doing it, in my case, if I've been doing it from the age of, say, 12, it becomes part of your bloodstream. I mean, if there is a day when I don't go out and, indulge in some activity that is good for my fitness, I feel that I've lost out something on that day. Well, I could never do just walking, or I could never do just cycling. I just couldn't. Huh?
So you have to play.
No, I couldn't. I mean, honestly, if I developed a habit of brisk walking, that could have compensated. But it is just a question of getting them interested. I learnt my tennis at XLRI because one of my professors, Father Ozzy Mascarenas, Father McGrath, and I, and sometimes Papa Arroyo, we used to play tennis together, and I learned tennis because they wanted to play tennis. Right? And so it just kind of self-fulfilling in that sense. I think it's important, but what's more important is the team spirit. So there has to be a lot more competitions. There has to be a lot more inter-house, inter-hostel, inter-section kind of events that will get people. And it can be across different categories, beginners, intermediate, and the professionals. So what happens is you have to have teams at all levels and things like that. So I think that is something that needs to be done.
So you brought out a very important dimension of team spirit, how fitness activities in the form of sports actually promote team spirit, which I think plays a major role in the industry, right? In the corporate world, working as a team is very important, extremely important. So this builds in that mindset.
And the other aspect is resilience. You see, if you are a sports person, I mean, you have played some tough table tennis matches. I was playing against India number 2, R. Hari, and I was leading him in the first game 19-16, and I took him to 29-27, and I lost. And the next game he beat me under 5. But I mean, that resilience that it teaches you, your ability to face adversity, bounce back, overcome an illness, and still battle on, etc. I think it's a very important quality when it comes to your management and leadership.
Right. So the thinking that, how many ever obstacles come, I will not give up. I will try. And failure is not a failure. It's just an experience to learn and go forward.
It's more learning.
Yeah. Yeah. That comes from sports.
You know, I'll also touch upon a bit on the corporate world side, especially because, I've just had a privilege of meeting with a lot of CXOs and spending time with them and just to understand what's happening inside them. I realized that a lot of business unit heads, functional heads, CEOs, in today's time, I realized that their work is just not the internal work. They are also being monitored with every step, what's happening in their personal life. And that is getting amplified because of the media everywhere. And they need to come back again to the office fully energized and fully, picked up for the next day. How do you do this? So fitness has actually become a very key element today in the CXO's life, and they don't want to do without it because it's just not about work-life balance that they're trying to showcase, but they actually want to make it happen. Because and also multiple other factors. As Nath pointed out, the mental health, your cognitive functions, your stress hormones, everything have a direct proportionate to the fitness level or the exercises that you do. So it becomes a very key element today in that scenario of ensuring that yes, you're there and you making it happen. And if I remember correctly, Tom Corley, right? I mean, he wrote a book called "Change Your Lives, Change Your Habits and Change Your Lives." And he interviewed hundreds of leaders, CXOs, business leaders, a lot of self-made millionaires, and he realized that 82% exercise, and that becomes such a key data point just to understand that what's happening in the corporate world today in terms of the seriousness for the exercise and fitness. That's
I was mentioning, that team sport he mentioned, but that's actually very interesting to both perspectives. One is fitness, and second is the bonding which it leads to. So if you have a company team sports, it really makes a big difference. Big difference.
So it influences other aspects of corporate life also. For example, think of something like solving a common problem. Let's say you're working on a project. Let's take something simple like that. You're doing a project and you're encountering problems. So if people are playing a sport together and they are part of the same project, so during the activity itself, they may discuss certain things and find solutions to the problem. Now, as a runner, I can tell you that sometimes I go for a run with a group of people, and as we run, we talk. And as we talk, we discuss issues. We discuss, for example, someone just starts saying that मेरे office में ये ऐसा हुआ था. And as they talk, the issue becomes more clear and people start suggesting, why don't you try this? So solutions seems to, sort of work out even as we run. There's a knowledge exchange that happens. So fitness activities, engaging in interaction with people, indirectly solves problems. That's another benefit that brings people together, like you said, bonding.
I would like
So
to bring
many
another
spillover
aspect
effects.
to this. Of course, this is extremely important. But I have found, since I play a game like golf or I played tennis earlier, and you spoke about networking a little while ago. Honestly, if I look at my golf buddies, the number of bankers, the number of IPS officers, the number of IRS officers, the number of IAS officers, the number of doctors from any discipline, the number of lawyers. The other day, somebody who is in Dhirubhai Ambani, I happened to meet him on the golf course, and my little one, my granddaughter, was going for an interview. I mean, her parents were going for an interview to Dhirubhai Ambani for her admission. The kind of relationships and the strength, the bond of the relationship, being able to pick up the phone and sort out something relating to an income tax issue, or being able to sort out something which is completely unrelated to, I mean, you would have to hire a consultant and pay him tons of money, but then here you just say, listen, here, I want to come with my CFO, and listen, can we just spend about half an hour with you? And can you get your guy who's pretty good in direct tax? I have something to sort out. And it just gets done over a cup of coffee. So I think this sports, fitness activity, I mean, I had some visa matter relating to my daughter-in-law who's Chinese. And I happened to meet a girl who works in an extremely good legal firm, and I wanted a legal opinion on what are the options that we have in terms of her visa matter. And in a matter of 24 hours, I had an appointment, somebody who otherwise would have taken 60 days to give me an appointment. So I think fitness, sports, and activities are excellent for networking.
Yeah, has all these very valuable spillover effect.
But networking should definitely be a byproduct. I feel so. That should not be the core of it, because at the end of the day,
No, they'll see you through. If
Yeah.
you're there for networking, before you realize there are many people who won't be playing with you because you're just hanging around there for networking. You have to be a damn good player to win their respect. Otherwise, they won't give you the time of the day.
And don't stop hiring consultants. You'll kill their business.
No, if the consultant happens to be a golfer, why not?
Yeah, that's true.
I have a question here for the group. What I'm hearing is that fitness needs to be intense or highly involved. In my personal opinion, this is just a personal opinion, if you're reasonably active and you eat reasonably well and sensibly, I think you can be fit and you can be happy. You don't have to play tennis or run a marathon or, play golf at a top level, or I think if you just go for a walk with your dog or with your wife, or if you just swim a little bit, or you just do a bit of stretching at home and you eat properly, do you guys think, given the kind of, you're saying at a different life stage, you want to do different things, you're able to do different things, right? Is that enough, or does one need to be running a full marathon? Or
So my view is it's a personal journey. Fitness is not something which, someone is doing, so you need to emulate. It's a personal journey. How much your body can take, how much you want to do, how much time you want to do. But some fitness is required.
some activity is required?
But I think what the point that you touched on, eating clean, eating clean, is such a big part of being fit. Is just, I mean, then you're not putting junk in, though you don't need to work the junk out. And eating clean can go such a long way in.
So what in your opinion is eating clean? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Basically, don't overdo oil, don't overdo carb, don't overdo alcohol, all of which I've done. That's a separate story. But at the point in time, you need to just be, and that information is available. But I wanted to touch upon something else which you highlighted about XLRI incorporating fitness. And I do have a concern with that. And that concern is, I think it is not anchored in a sensitivity to diversity. Because there are a lot of people who, for various reasons, can't be doing the stuff that some of us have done. And when you kind of start to build not the way Stanford did it, because that's a personal choice. You want to do something, you do it great, and if I'm not into fitness, I can go and play the piano and get my grades, right? But when you make it into a formal curricula and you start allocating marks around it, and isn't that then, I mean, there are people who are who are physically not, you know, they're not inclined, and their fitness level or their ability to play sport or the inability to play sport rather, in no way impedes their ability to be great corporate professionals. I think the correlation between playing great sport and being a great corporate professional is correlation at best. It's definitely not causality. So that's one thing. And the second thing I want to point out is that fitness and sport also has a dark side of body shaming, which is becoming very kind of evident in our society. And again, that's something that I personally have a problem. I mean, everybody has the right to be who they are and live the life, and you can't be. So sometimes we need to be careful about how we emphasize certain pieces, especially in things like corporations and institutes, because they're also creating reward mechanisms. And I really love the point that you made that while there are formal programs, the chairman being a runner can inspire a bunch of people to become runners, and that's absolutely fine.
More impactful. There's more effectiveness in
It could be, but
inspiration than in,
to
yeah.
kind of, if tomorrow, because you were a runner in Tata's group, you got additional benefits or you got more time with the chairman, that I think would be fundamentally wrong.
I'll just add to what Animesh you just said. You know, I've been talking to a lot of, and this time I've been talking to a lot of CEOs and asking them, what are those three key elements other than your work that you're addressing in the organization? Other than the ESG and commenting on the societal issues, one of the key elements that everybody is talking about is health and well-being of the employees. And especially with the way the attrition is happening, and especially the way the startups and today's young generation is saying that, listen, enough is enough in a day. The health and well-being is becoming a very key element to a lot of CXOs. And that is just to add on to what you just said, that it is just not inspiring, but it's become a key corporate agenda today for the senior leaders to address. So yes, the fitness is definitely
But I
becoming
think
front.
the concerns you expressed are very relevant. It shouldn't be made into something where people feel excluded. It should be done in a manner that people feel inspired. So it should have a very inclusive approach. People should feel that they want to do it.
Different people will have different journeys to that goal, right? Like I said, I may just go for a walk and arrive at that goal. You might want to do functional training. I may say, okay, I'll manage a bit with my diet and a bit with my easy walk. There should be no pressure on anyone to do it the same way.
Yeah, no, and Mr. Sethi, it's also the
And no
question.
disincentives and no incentives.
There should be no competitiveness in it. It should be inspirational.
What is your motivation for being fit is also a key question to address here. Like for me, the motivation is that as I'm growing older, I should remain in motion. Because what is the point of doing everything that when you reach a certain age, you cannot even get up from the bed? So my motivation of remaining fit is to remain in motion. So I spend 90 minutes every day. Either I'm walking or I'm doing yoga or I'm training, functional training. I also do functional training, by the way. Or doing anything or playing cricket or playing any sport. Irrespective, doesn't matter. But 365 days a year, I'm traveling or doing whatever. I'm spending those 90 minutes on my fitness just because what my motivation is to remain in motion. And if I don't do that, I feel, will I be able to get up next day in the morning and walk? So it is also about what motivates you to remain fit is also a key.
See, I'll just address that point you made. Actually, many of my doctor friends say, eat healthy and just walk for 45 minutes a day. And brisk walk Some people even say a brisk walk is also not needed. So long as you're walking for 45 minutes, you don't have to break into a sweat. Even gentle walking is as good as brisk walking or a light jog or whatever. But I'll tell you where there is a difference. And if you look at all your siblings or you look at all your family members, extended circle of friends, and people who have, you see, unfortunately, we have a sedentary life. We have a sedentary life. Our corporate life, I mean, you're sitting on a table, you're attending a meeting or a conference, you're going for a lunch, you're meeting somebody over coffee, or you're taking some guys out for a drink, or you have a late dinner. Or what are you doing? What is it that you're doing in terms of, okay, burning away those calories? What are you doing for your knees? What are you doing for your joints? What are you doing for your bones? What are you doing for your spine? What are you doing for your lungs with all the pollution and everything else? COVID comes and hits you. How does it give you the resilience to bounce out of it? So listen, I'll be quite honest. While 45 minutes of walking is good, is it enough of an aerobic activity? Is it pumping your heart rate up? Is it pushing you to exercise your limbs? Very simple, no? Can you walk 10 floors of a building and not collapse? You see, do we need that fitness? There are some people who go to Shabrimala and they cover the entire hill, they just climb it up in about 1 hour. Many others take 3 hours to do it. Where does that fitness come from? So it's, you see, I'm just saying it's just a matter of degree. All right, we cannot de emphasize the benefits to health, benefits to, and there is a social dimension to all of us also. No? We have time to spend time with our family, but we also need some time. I mean, I'm catching up with him after such a long time, but this is not it's a topic on fitness, and thanks to fitness, we are getting to meet. So fitness is good.
I don't think there's any doubt about the fact that as you age, you need to eat more protein. As you age, you probably need to do some amount of resistance training, whether you're doing weights or you're doing functional, because your muscle mass is degenerating at a higher rate. So you need to keep it built back. Otherwise, your joints will go. All kinds of things will happen. So there's no doubt about the power of fitness or being focused on fitness. I think the place where I keep coming back to, and at least the way I've observed the world around us, fitness is not in India. For two categories of people, indulging in fitness is not the easiest thing to do. One is women, because of just the number of additional chores that they need to do. And the second is it becomes a lot easier as you get more flexibility in life, which is as you go up the economic, because if you're at the bottom of the pyramid, you really don't have time, 90 minutes to sometimes spend time doing which is not economically value added.
Till you're a time billionaire, you
So
cannot
you have
really
to be
be
a
a.
time billionaire to be able to do some of this. But since we're talking to a specific audience of hopefully XLers and that, women find it a lot more difficult to find time for fitness because they just do so many more things than men do. So how do you make fitness inclusive? And I think that's the point, the words you use, and I love that. And that is, I think, a good challenge for a business institute from a research agenda to try and solve for.
That resonates so much with me because that resonates a lot with me. Because while I find a lot of time to do what I want to do, my wife, who loves to walk, who taught me how to play squash, she would love to go for a yoga class or the gym, just doesn't have the bandwidth. Because between her work and the house and the children, for her to even have the energy and the time to go for a walk in the morning is sometimes just not, and it resonates so much with me. Yeah, I agree with. And even at this life stage. So, yeah.
So as a CEO of a company, obviously, most CEOs are aware of their need for personal, mental, and physical fitness. How much is a responsibility towards your people of driving this? Either as a voluntary thing or forcing people to, let's say, do annual medical health checkup as a compulsory. I'll give you an example. Pre-COVID, I was CEO of Aptech, and there's a World Diabetes Day, and BMC had free camps. So I got it we had some 400 in that building, and it was voluntary. 100 opted, out of which 5 had serious level of diabetes. They didn't even know. Now, then my HR guy said, no, we should make every year medical checkup and we will fund it as compulsory. I said, do you want to make compulsory, voluntary? Let's work on it. But this is a dilemma I was facing. I was concerned with everyone's health, and to have 5 people or 4-5 people with, this was not whatever type, I forget, it was extremely high diabetes. They didn't even know. That triggered in the company, need for being fitter. But how much should it be driven by just motivation? How much should it be driven by a little bit of nudge, and how much little bit of compulsion?
I have found it very useful to mandate 45 and above annual medical checkup. Paid for by the company. No, paid for by the company. The company fixes up a date with so and so hospital. We allow you a half a day off. The HR coordinates the time. This is in one of my earlier companies, and we expect you to go. Not going is not an option. Already you're not able to go, then you reschedule it. It's fine. But why? You're absolutely right. Hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol. If you discover it early, that employee can lead a good, happy life over a protracted period of time. Why? Something like breast cancer. If it is diagnosed early enough, how much of a difference it makes in terms of expense, in terms of everything else. So I'm just trying to convey this to you that, listen, it's not intrusion. We also want our employees to get the benefit of the company's power to do good for them. And one of the things I'm very proud of is the fact that in every company, like, whether it be Bajaj Electricals or Polycab, where these are not so evolved companies by the time I had joined them. But we ensured medical insurance for self, spouse, and 2 dependent children. You might be surprised, didn't they have this? They didn't. I included parents when I was in Bajaj Electricals. The parents were included in the medical insurance. And over a period of time, 60% of the claims were parents' claims. But it was necessary to demonstrate your commitment to the employee's health. So I'm just trying to say, at the end of the day, it's very personal. At the same time, it's a small example, Tata Marathon. In Polycab, first year I said, listen guys, anyone who's going, I'm signing the check for them. 15 hands came up. Next year HR took it as an initiative. There were 75 hands. And the next year there were 200 hands with 50% paid by the employee, 50% paid by the company. And after that everyone paid themselves. And they ran 300 of them in the Mumbai Marathon. Now listen, a small gesture and the cascading effect of that.
I'll add a bit to that,
I'm
Raki.
actually, in our company, this is standard. So I'm not even, for us, we've had it for the last 20 years. Free medical checkup, free medical insurance, lots of sports to play. So for me, these are standard things. I'm not even surprised.
Yeah, so the Tata Group is actually a leader in this.
Our group is,
Yeah.
we are very blessed to have all this. But to me, the key thing is it's all elective, right? The kind of activity, there's a health checkup, but no one's telling me how to get healthy.
Yes.
So, and that's the point I'm making, that, everybody has their own journey, including the diet, because next you'll be telling people what to eat and what not to eat, right? So everybody has a level of activity that's suitable to them, for their body type, for their level of interest. I may be a different kind of eater than you, right? So you're a lean person, I'm not a lean person. So our activities are different, our mental makeup is different. So my point is that the goal is great, right? In terms of all the points that you mentioned, mental, emotional, physical, eating right, body should be healthy. But how to get to that goal is a very individual choice. You can enable it. So where you live, Tata Steel is a paradise, right? From hiking to trekking to tennis to horse riding to swimming to cricket to hockey, you have everything. But it's all elective. It's all elective, and that's the point I'm making. So there are hundreds of people in Tata Steel who only walk. They never join any of these sports activities, but by God's grace, they are healthy. So I'm just talking about the journey, not the goal.
No, I totally agree with you because everyone has an interest level. I mean, if I don't like cycling, I'm not going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to cycle because I don't like it.
Free cycle दे दो, फिर
तब भी
तो
नहीं
नहीं
जाएगा.
करेगा.
So, my body doesn't come into the action till I don't eat something in the morning. So I go for my training and my exercise at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Thankfully, I can. So, because that's when my body starts saying, yeah, I can do it now. I know by the end of the day, I won't be able to do it because, my couch and my wine will excite me more at that point of time. So 6 o'clock upwards won't work for me. So, the afternoon slot works. And so it is also about, finding that, you're absolutely right, finding that right space for yourself. And every individual is different. Golf motivates him, he'll get up in the morning and do that.
For a second, because what you're saying, you said something really important. Many of us are immigrants into large cities. We come from smaller cities where we had access to infrastructure, facilities. So what corporates can do is they can come together, and corporates can increase the opportunity for people at an early stage to join a club or join an activity. For example, if you organized, with your interest, photography trips into Borivali National Park in Bombay, that guarantees walking for 4 hours, right? 2 hours up, 2 hours back. There are people, I'm saying the more opportunities you create for people to be active, not necessarily doing the same thing for everyone. And if corporates can pool their resources and build these stadiums and swimming pools and stuff like that, I think that is very important to build the infrastructure.
A lot of this infrastructure is available in Mumbai at a very reasonable cost. You want to go play tennis, you can go to Priyadarshini Park. You play next to nothing and you can play tennis. Some of the club memberships, Indian Gymkhana, Matunga Gymkhana, are not so pricey. You can go in as a guest, pay $100, and you can play tennis, you can play badminton. Of course, you need to know some member, and it can be done.
I think it's been a long time since you've commuted in Bombay.
No, no, but the point is this. I'm just trying to say, you may live in Matunga, you may live in Chembur, you may live in Santa Cruz, but there is a
What if you
YMCA
live in
somewhere.
Borivali and Mira Road?
No, there is. So I
Probably
used to
there
live
you
in
may be able
Andheri.
to play cricket, football, volleyball, basketball, and everything else that you want. Goregaon, wherever. I'm only trying to say where there is a will, there is a way. I mean, you will find the place where you can go and do what you want to do. And if corporates can do it, I'm sure it should be part of CSR or whatever in a manner of speaking. You can empower organizations who are focusing on this and build capacity. Real estate becomes prohibitively expensive if you want to create a civic infrastructure. Government does a lot in this regard. It's for us to put cricket, yeah. How much of cricket is played? Anywhere, everywhere. Who's funding it? It just happens, no? Where there is a will.
I think
That's my
why
small
very
submission.
good copywriter for Nike wrote a line saying the road is always open. And that ad just had a pair of shoes, right? So if you have the will, that's all you need. You need a pair of shoes and an empty road. So
While we're
to
coming
your
to the end
point,
of this
the will
conversation.
is so important, right?
No, I'm saying while we're coming to the end of this conversation, I'll on a lighter note, I'll tell this to Nina that somebody is making a protein beer. Will you invest into that? So that's the best fitness regime. So I'm glad. So
Well, why not?
last word, sir.
Good. So I think that sums it up very nicely. The point is fitness is no doubt important, but the way in which it is carried out, the way in which it is implemented, has to be done with some caution and with the required amount of inspiration. Right? People have to be inspired to do it more than forced to do it. People have to be led the way rather than pushed into it. Probably that would get many more people fit and more industry ready and industry active.